Interested in getting tickets to a concert or sporting event? Use SeatGeek and get $20 off on your next purchase with promo code OBERSPORTS. That's OBERSPORTS, OBERSPORTS. What's going on, guys? Jacob Ober here. The Milwaukee Brewers, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Yeah, I know it's been a very long time since I've made an actual Brewers-related video, but, this team, this offseason, really flown under the radar to me. I think the Brewers have done a lot of really, really good things. They've found a lot of players that could have value for the team that a lot of people just don't seem to realize because none of them are really that flashy. The big thing for me with the Milwaukee Brewers this season is they've got a lot of depth in a lot of areas, like scary good depth in a lot of areas. In a way, I almost compare it to the Bucks right now. The Bucks have their big superstar, Giannis Antetokounmpo. They've got some other pretty well-known guys. They've got Ryan Braun, Lorenzo Cain, Keston Hiura, Justin Smoke, guys like that. They've got some pretty well-known guys, and then after that, no one really knows what the heck they're about. But if you really look at what this team has done this offseason, I think they've added a lot of really, really important pieces. They've short out their rotation pretty well, I think. And a lot of people really, I think, are going to underlook that rotation. But I think it's going to be good, at least good enough to, sustain competitive baseball. After Woody, of course, who's your ace this season. I think they've got a lot of depth in the rotation. I think that Josh Lindboom and Freddie Peralta are going to be surprising a lot of people this year. And I think that Eric Lauer and Brett Anderson. A lot of people really aren't talking about those moves, but those are guys who can bring, some consistency to the rotation. And, they're not going to win the Cy Young or anything like that, but they could eat innings in the dog days of baseball, and they could, play a role in the playoffs if you get there. So I really think that rotation, which is usually mentioned as, the biggest weak spot for the Brewers, a lot of people don't really have any confidence in it because they don't know any of the names in it. But in my opinion, you actually look at the numbers, you actually look at what these guys have done in their careers, and I think there is reason for optimism for that rotation. So, the offense for the Brewers, I don't think it's going to really suffer that much without Grandal and Moustakas. I really think the Brewers did a good job at replacing their offensive production because, Omar Narvaez and Yasmani Grandal, if you actually look at their numbers and compare them, they're pretty similar. I mean, you could even make the case that Narvaez is a better offensive catcher than Yasmani Grandal. Of course, he'd probably have to stretch a few areas to actually make that case, but the case is there to be made nonetheless. And a lot of people will mention, Omar Narvaez has some defensive deficiencies, we'll say that. He is a very, very poor defender, but I think the reason that David Stearns made that move is because he knows that he has insurance behind Narvaez and Manny Pena, who was almost a Gold Glover at catcher a couple years ago. And if you remember, the Brewers made it within one game of within one game of the World Series, I should say, with Pena and Eric Kratz playing catcher for them. So catcher is not a position I think that the Brewers are going to, have to worry a significant amount about, even if Narvaez struggles. Manny Pena has definitely shown to be pretty capable offensively, too. He hit .277 a couple years ago and had a lot of production at the catcher position. But, I think a lot of people really underestimate that area of the Brewers. And I'll go over to the third base side as well. And I'll admit it's a bit of a question mark, but at the same time, I look at the guys that the Brewers have, the options that they have there, and I could see that production replacing Moustakas. I really could, especially with Jerko and Sogard, who both have proven to have successful hitting abilities at Miller Park. Several years of seeing Jerko hit bombs at Miller Park, and Eric Sogard, of course, a couple years ago being on the Brewers and having a very successful campaign. I really think that the Brewers can have some success at the hot corner, and even if they don't, the option is always there to be able to make a trade at the deadline too. So we'll see what happens with the Brewers in those areas, but overall, they have an elite outfield. They have Keston Hiura, who was great offensively last season, has to shore up the defense a little bit. That's really the area where the Brewers might struggle this year, their defense. They're not going to be, I don't think they're going to be elite by any means, but at the same time, defense isn't really what wins you games in baseball. Yes, it's important at times, but I really think that the pitching and the offense is the the key areas for this team, and I think the pitching is really underrated, and the offense is going to be just fine, especially with that outfield of Yelich, Kane, Braun, and Garcia. I mean, there's a lot of really good hitting prowess in that outfield, and of course Ben Gamel as well. Can't forget him. Justin Smoke's signing was also pretty good. I think I would have preferred to keep Thames, but at the same time, you're getting a guy who's made an All-Star team, who's a big name on the Jays for a long time. So to see him in Miller Park, especially being a left-handed hitter, or actually he might be a switch hitter, I'm not sure. I don't know, but those guys who can turn around and hit left-handed in Miller Park, they're going to hit a lot of bombs, and I'm expecting a lot of bombs from guys like catcher who's Omar Narvaez and Justin Smoke too. And of course Christian Yelich being the big lefty guy on the Brewers. But I just think that there's a lot of areas that aren't as weak as people are saying, and I really think that the depth on this team is going to be really good. And you also look to the the bullpen, I should say. A lot of people are like, oh man, they don't have anybody in the bullpen, but they're getting back Corey Knebel. They already have Josh Hader. That's already an elite 1-2 punch in the 8th and 9th innings. And then you've got some guys who can obviously fill out the middle of the order, or the middle. I'm really struggling with words tonight. I don't know why. But you've got guys that can come in the middle of games and bridge a gap between the starter and the end of the game guys, like Knebel and Hader. I mean, you've got guys like Alex Claudio was a really good innings eater for the Brewers last year. You've got guys like Ray Black and Corbin Burns, and I'm really expecting Corbin Burns to bounce back this season. There's a lot of options for the Brewers in that middle of the game area where between the 5th and the 7th innings. I really think that the Brewers are going to be just all right, and they've done that. They've been able to do that in years past with those guys. You're not going to know these guys' names as much because they're not closing out the game, but they can still be effective in that role. So overall, though, I really think the Brewers are going to be good this season, and I really expect them to be competitive once again. I don't know if they're going to win the NL Central or not. The NL Central is a really, really, really difficult division this year, but I still think that they're going to have a chance, and that's really what David Stearns has done for the Brewers. He's given them chances to win with under-the-radar moves, with finding value where others don't see value, and being able to assemble a baseball team for the past 3 years anyways, that has been able to surprise some people with how successful they've been. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. That's all I really have to say in this video. I just wanted to, get my thoughts out there on why the Brewers might be able to exceed your expectations this season, because I know a lot of people have been really flying under the radar. I said Raider. God. Flying under the radar on them. I don't know if I'm having a stroke tonight or what. I mean, I literally can't talk. I don't know why. I've been trying to do this video for so long, and I just keep messing up my words. But in the meantime, guys, thanks for watching. Leave a comment in the comments section below. What do you think of the Brewers going into this season, and do you think that they'll be able to be competitive like they have been the past 3 years? Leave a comment in the comments section below. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Go Brewers.